This week on the Retirement Quick Tips podcast, I'm sharing with you 40 life lessons I've learned in my 40 years. Now, normally when I record these, I kind of sit down and do a week's worth at a time and record them all at the same time. But this week, because my 2-year-old was screaming in the background the other times, I had to do it when he's not here. So I actually happened to be recording this on my birthday. So it is really hitting home today. And I want to talk about life lessons I've learned about success. Maybe the most important one that I've learned for me that seems like the antithesis of success is that it's okay to quit something. When I was a kid, I started playing basketball. Well, my dad's coached basketball for, I want to say like 45 years at this point. And he's pretty serious about basketball. And I made my first basket on a normal 10-foot size hoop when I was 4 years old. And I would play point guard. I was pretty well advanced. Like by the time I was 7 and 8 and started playing on teams, I could, literally dribble circles around anybody and I could shoot and lay up and was pretty consistent. Actually, the first game I ever played basketball was 3rd grade. And I was playing on a 4th grade team and we had 24 points that game and we won. And I had 23 of the points. So I loved basketball. I started playing it from a very early age. And then around the age of 12, I had started playing soccer at that point and just kind of started to really lose interest in basketball. I was no longer the best person on the team either. And that I think had some influence because everybody else really caught up to me. Like basketball was a lot of fun when I was just running circles around people. That was quite fun. But as I struggled to kind of keep up starting around the age of 12, it wasn't as fun. And so I quit basketball years later. I quit basketball after my junior year of high school. I started at a new school, tried out for the basketball team, made the team, but then I realized that I didn't really want to play anymore. And this had been going on, since the age of 12. So I was probably 16 at that point. So for the last 4 years, I had continued playing basketball when my heart just was not in it anymore. And after I quit, I felt really bad. But I'm glad that I did. And I did that years. I played years after I stopped having fun. And I wish I would have stopped playing earlier rather than spending all that time for 4 years playing a sport that I wasn't interested or having fun with anymore. And it felt like a chore and a job. The other thing I quit was the high school. I started at a high school. I was there for 2 years. Basically from day one, I did not like it. I wasn't making friends like I thought that I would. I'm very extroverted. So I tend to, and I love people. So I tend to make friends and acquaintances wherever I go. And I was struggling so much for some reason. I just could not make friends in the way that I had wanted to in high school. And a lot of my old friends from the small Catholic school that I went to prior to that, they had gone to a different school. A lot of them went to the same high school. And I decided I wanted to do something different, but that was a mistake. So I almost didn't quit the high school that I was going to, but I told my parents with crying that I hated it there and I wanted to go somewhere else. And so I went to a different Catholic school for high school, transferred schools my junior year. Then I met my husband there. So my junior year, my husband and I started dating and, my life would have been completely different had I not made that decision to change schools. This year, my daughter quit piano and she was playing for maybe a year and a half. And I wanted to see her press on with it because I think piano is an amazing skill to learn and develop and something, that's lifelong and it will help her with any musical thing she may want to do later on. And choir is her main thing and she loves that. And so piano really supports that. But she took piano lessons for quite a while and it stopped being fun a long time before she quit. I asked her recently, I said, do you want to continue this? And she burst into tears and was like, no, I don't like it anymore. It's too hard. And I could tell for a long time that was how she felt. She just, I think, didn't want to quit something either. The fruit doesn't fall far from the tree. And I used to think that quitting meant that you had failed somehow and what you had done was a total waste of time. But then I learned there's this sunk cost concepts. And I learned that in business school. And when I learned that, I actually saw quitting from a completely different viewpoint, because quitting sometimes can be the only way that you can achieve success or a good outcome, just by accepting the fact that, yes, I invested time in this. I've put effort into it. I may have done this for years and feel like I'm wasting all this time if I just abandon this, whatever it is. But because of the sunk cost concept, you have to ignore all of that previous time investment. You can only think about it as like going forward. So I just accept this, and it's easier for me to quit things now because I quit snowboarding. I sold my snowboard a few years ago. No problems at all, because I realized I don't have time for this. I don't want to do this. I shouldn't feel guilty. Yes, I did it for many years and had a lot of fun, but you know what? It's cold. I don't like being out in the snow on a ski lift when it's 40-mile-an-hour winds and it's freezing. It's just not something that I'm interested in. And so you can free yourself up to new opportunities, new people, etc. when you quit something. And sometimes that is really the best decision, and you shouldn't feel like a failure. Okay, that's pretty long. I do have 2 more lessons that I wanted to share that I've learned about success. Number 1, ego is the enemy. That's actually a book title. I've read that book. It's quite good. And your ego prevents you from doing the right thing a lot of time. Not like the morally bad thing, but our ego gets in the way of success a lot of times. And if we could set that aside more often, then we would do things and probably be more accomplished, because we're not so concerned about how we perceive ourselves, how others perceive us, seeing ourselves in a certain light, etc. So I love that book. I recommend it. And I didn't realize until I read that book how much of the time ego can really get in the way. And then the last lesson is hard work, determination, and consistency will take you far past pretty much everyone else. I actually learned this from people in my life, but what comes to mind is movies that I watched growing up. So one of my favorite movies growing up was Rocky, especially Rocky IV, where he beats the Russian and he trains like an animal in the Siberian winter and he defeats Ivan Drago. I must break you. Yes, I love that movie. I've probably seen it 100 times, but I love Hoosiers. I love Rudy. And they all have this same message. It's like, you may not be the most skilled person, but if you work hard and you stick with it and you're consistent, that will take you a long, long ways, far past the point which you may have ever thought that you could achieve. So thank you to Rocky and Hoosiers and Rudy. I also recently introduced my kids to Hoosiers and Rudy. Rocky IV will be next, I'm sure. But it's been a lot of fun, and I love watching them enjoy the movie and seeing it for the first time. All right, that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening. My name is Ashley Michike, and this is the Retirement Quick Tips Podcast.